Well, hello there, and welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani with Jerry Usher, and you are the key person because you're the person that calls in. You share your wisdom, your takes on the topics that we introduce, and we learn and grow together. It's that simple, but it's that amazing, and it's been going for almost 9 years because of the Take Two family. So, Jerry, good morning to you. Is it morning where you are or afternoon?
It is morning where I am, yes, okay. As a matter of fact, yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Good morning to you. I know some of our lunch bunch group is having their lunch together and listening to Take Two, so maybe they could call in. And today is actually National Parental Alienation Awareness Day. And that's a big title for this day, and it talks a lot about how families are estranged, distant, broken apart. There's been, also the idea of trying to split families up, and it's really quite devastating, and there's a lot of suffering that is attached to that and a lot of grief. And we want to talk about, so the topic today could be a heavy one, but we need you to weigh in on it so that we can help others maybe work their way through this or try to cope with it. When your kids don't want to visit you, when your kids don't want to come and visit, let's talk about it, and let's talk about this idea of bringing families together and praying for families and supporting families, encouraging families to stay together and stick together and to heal and to move along. But when kids don't want to visit you, it can be very, very painful, Jerry. And we want to put it out there to the Take Two family. And Jerry and I feel strongly that you guys will have a lot to say about this. We do as well. The number to dial is 833-288-3986.
Yeah, it is very unfortunate, sad, horrible sometimes when this happens. Maybe your kids not only don't want to visit you, but perhaps they won't answer your phone calls, or they won't pick up the phone and call you themselves. There are various means of associating with them, and perhaps they have chosen to cut all of those off for you, and you can't see, your kids, your grandkids often get caught in the crosshairs of all of this. So we're talking today about parental alienation. If this has happened in your life, maybe describe that and how you've dealt with that. And maybe you found some roads toward healing, or you're on your way toward that. Maybe you would give great hope to some people who are listening right now. We always say on this show, what you share is going to impact your fellow Take Two family members. So join us on this broadcast. We've done this topic before. It's always been very busy. The conversation has been very robust, a lot of participants, so please be one of those today at 833-288-3986.
And maybe you're a grandparent and you want to see those grandkids so very, very much, but your daughter-in-law or the daughter-in-law or the son-in-law, decided, no, we're not going to let the grandparents see the grandkids. We just decided that's not what we want, or they spend time with one side of the family and not the other, or they, for some reason, maybe your religious beliefs don't match with what's happening with your children and their spouses. So there's all different. How do you say it, Jerry? Different details to every situation. Everybody has personalities play into this. Also, maybe could be divorce that's part of it. There could be, abuse, alcoholism, all sorts of things, that drug addiction. There could be all sorts of things that play into why the family is splitting apart. But we want to try to have some ideas put forth to bring the family together. Okay, so let's look at this from a different angle, and let's really work together to bring each other hope and confidence going forward to try and heal our families. The number to dial again and fill those last phone lines is 833-288-3986. And that's the number to call. And Jerry, you often shared about your childhood. You felt there was a little bit of that going on.
Well, yeah, my parents divorced when I was 7. I didn't see my dad very much. I cannot with any certainty blame my mother for, keeping us from him, but I could say that she was not always, excited about trying to make meetings with him happen for us. She would facilitate them if we were back in the Seattle area, which was about 3 hours away from where we moved after the divorce. But So I don't hold any, grudges against her or not, but I just, as I've analyzed this and thought and prayed about it over the years, there might have been a little bit of that going on. Yeah. A little bit.
Well, and it can happen a lot after divorce because, the dynamics of the family change, right? And people have, they go from an intact family and they set up two separate households, and, there's division and there's a lot of talk going on sometimes away from the other parent, and that can be very damaging. So we can talk about this from all different angles, and as you can tell, with the coaching ministry that Jerry and I have, we're pretty experienced in this. Plus, in my own walk in life, I have encountered it for many years. So let's talk about it, and let's see if we can make this suffering that we're feeling when the kids don't want to be part of our lives, the suffering work for us spiritually instead of against us, because that grief can really weigh us down and keep us stuck, and that's not what God wants for us. So let's really talk about it. Come on, you guys, fill that last phone line, 833-288-3986.
With every cross comes an opportunity, and having never had children, I can only imagine, and to the degree that I'm able to imagine how difficult this must be, I'm guessing it's 100 million times worse than the way that I'm able to imagine it, just because I have not had personal experience with this. So my heart goes out to you, Debbie, and to all of the people who have experienced this alienation from their children for whatever means. Maybe it was a decision made on the part of the son or the daughter, like you said, or an in-law. Maybe it was a spouse or an ex-spouse sort of pitting you against them and causing them to see you differently than you really are, perhaps, or that you would want to be seen by them. So a lot of directions we can go on this program today, and you are the ones who make it so here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you at 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986.
You can always text us. You text the letters EWTN to 58177, so 58177. You wait for a response. Then you text us your first name and your brief question or comment, and just keep in mind that message and data rates may apply. But you can always text us if you want that, or YouTube and Facebook. We're waving to you guys. The chats are going. It's National Parental Alienation Awareness Day, and we wanted to focus on this topic today for Take Two. So please call us, 833-288-3986.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
I don't like looking back. I prefer to look forward and keep moving forward. There's plenty to cover. I do a lot of research and try to dig out the bits and pieces of a life or of an agenda that people don't want to talk about.
The World Over with Raymond Arroyo. Tonight, 8 Eastern on EWTN Radio and Television.
Join Archbishop Jose Gomez in sharing the good news.
Following Jesus means walking the path of holiness, the path of law. Treating people as Jesus will treat them, with understanding and compassion. Always being on the lookout to serve those in need. Jesus still wants to draw all people to himself. His cross is still the way of salvation. For he extends his invitation to you or to me. The people in our lives, the people in our society are still looking for Jesus. We are the ones who must show them the way. We are the apostles of our time and place. We need to bring people to Jesus.
Visit lacatholics.org to find ways to connect with our faith community in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles.
Talking today on Take Two about being alienated from your children. They don't want to come and see you. They don't want to talk with you for whatever reason. The pain that is in your heart perhaps can be great sometimes. Maybe you've learned to somehow come to a place of understanding or acceptance. Obviously, you're probably offering a lot of prayers for the situation. We can talk about all of this at 833-288-3986. But first, though, before we go to your calls, there are plenty of them, the saints are the heroes of our faith, and they serve as examples for all Catholics and really even for non-Catholics, showing us how to lead a more satisfying, more spiritual life in communion with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You can view our comprehensive documentation of saints who serve as theologians and doctors of the Church. Visit EWTN.com and click on Catholicism, and you'll find them there.
Okay, so Don is first up from Springfield, Missouri, on our friends at Catholic Radio Network. Hi, Don. Welcome to the program.
Hello there.
Hello.
So you're talking about estranged children and parents, and we've got two boys, and one of them is currently estranged. And what we keep hearing from their therapist is that if you're in a, quote, and I use this term only because it's a vogue term that's used now, if you're in a toxic relationship, then you can go ahead and just cast it aside and no longer deal with it because that's what's best for you. And that's what's causing this epidemic, I feel, about all these kids doing this because they're being told by their therapists that if you're in a toxic relationship, which to me back in my day was a difficult relationship, not toxic. Drano poisons are toxic. They can't change.
Right.
People can change. They should never, ever be labeled as toxic. And so I feel like we're getting a big disservice from a lot of these therapists that are out there telling these kids that, well, if it doesn't make you feel good and the relationship's difficult, then you can go ahead and just walk away from it. What do you guys say about that?
Well, Don, we don't have, 3 hours to talk about this because you're going to get my blood pressure sky high. I couldn't agree with you more, but I think it's more than just some of the therapists. It's the world in general. It's promoting this idea that if you're uncomfortable, if something offends you, if you can't deal with it, if you don't have, a thick enough skin to encounter things, then for your own mental sanity and your own emotional well-being, you can walk away. And the problem with that is if you're going to go with that approach, this is just my take now, so I don't want anybody coming after me saying, well, you don't understand, it was an abusive relationship or this or that. I understand when there's severe situations of abuse, you have to remove yourself for safety. Everybody understands that. But I'm talking about normal, just kind of high maintenance relationships where people just get under your skin or on your nerves, and a person walks away and says, I'm emotionally traumatized, I can't function, I want to cut this person out of my life. I think if you start that approach, you're pretty much going to cut everybody in the world out of your life, because I don't know how anybody is going to fit and check every box for a person. And part of the way we learn to cope and mature and grow is to navigate these kinds of relationships. Now, if a relationship is quote unquote heavily toxic and it really is going to drain the person tremendously, then maybe you limit your time with that person somewhat. Like maybe you don't go and spend a whole weekend with them, at a retreat place or whatever, a vacation place. But maybe you can have a dinner with them or a holiday, encounter. So I'm very troubled by this idea that everybody is offended. I think it's a cultural thing. Don, what do you say?
I think it's exactly a cultural thing, and it's even promoted on some of my favorite radio stations, where they talk about a toxic relationship. And relationships can work if you keep trying to work with them. I came from an alcoholic parent. I am not an alcoholic parent. I'm not. Neither my wife nor I drink, and we made our lives better. We've been together almost 40 years. My parents, even though my dad was drunk until I was 15. He went dry, and they were together for 66 years. And now we've got a child that wants nothing to do with us because the relationship is difficult, because they have different feelings about how to raise the grandchild than what they were raised. And it makes it extremely hard to work with anybody when they're being told, well, you don't have to be involved in that relationship, even though it's your parents.
Right. Right. But Don, before, Jerry comments real quickly, I just want to say, because I'm a parent and a grandparent as well. And I just want to say that when I was raised, and I think everybody can kind of relate to this if you're in the same age group. I'm going to be 59 in November. When I was raised, my parents would have never tolerated this kind of stuff that's happening now, where grandparents are not allowed to speak and talk about how to raise kids or even talk to the grandchildren. And I mean, there's this whole new parenting program out there of a certain style of parenting, and we in this generation, we have no idea how to raise kids. It's amazing how our kids were raised. I don't know how that happened, but somehow we did it all wrong, and they're doing it all right. I guess time will tell. Let's see if it works out that their kids are better. Maybe they will be, and that's wonderful. The sad part about this is breaking God's commandments. Okay, it's that simple. We work with Adam Bly, religious demonologist. He talks about it all the time, and he says, it's honor your father and mother, and we're breaking God's commands to be with, honor our parents, honor our grandparents, honor our family members, and really try to make the family whole as best we can. And so I stick with that. Now, if there's strong, serious, emotional, physical, sexual, spiritual abuse, then yeah, you have to distance yourself. But if it's just normal behavior and people are maybe high maintenance a bit, you know what? I think we got to figure out a way to get along, because this is breaking people's hearts. And it sounds like it's really hit your heart, Don.
Yes. It's mine and my wife's.
Yeah.
Well, we're very sorry about that, Don. And we have our prayer book, as you probably know from listening to the program, so we'll put you in there. And this relationship that you have, I think you said, with your son. There was a time not that long ago, a generation or two ago, when families would rally around each other, and they would come to each other's defense and help. And it's kind of like the human body. When there's an injury or a weakness, what does the body do? The rest of the body rushes to the aid of that particular weak or broken or wounded spot for the purpose of trying to bring healing. And I believe the family should be, akin to that. And there was a time when it was. So. Yeah. Don, thanks for being first up on this conversation today, brother. We will have you and all of your needs and intentions in our prayers. Talking today, this is a National Parental Alienation Day, and so we usually do something on this day or around this day every year, just because it's really a problem in our culture and in our world today. And so we would like to hear if you have a take on this topic. It's 833-288-3986.
And I just wanted to share, too, with Don's call, it's probably a good chance for us to say this, about this idea of having, and I hope Don goes back and listens, because he just hung up, so I hope he can hear. He turned on the radio. To allow this grief and this suffering to work for us rather than against us. And what I mean by that, it's what we always learned when we were growing up as Catholics, right? Offer it up. Well, if we can offer this up to maybe heal the sins of our family and generational sins and and future sins to come, this kind of offering up makes this kind of sadness and suffering and heartache and pain that we all feel as parents and grandparents, it will have some spiritual merit. It will. And that I can attest to. I'm living proof of it. So I just wanted to share that. I hope Don goes back and turns on the radio and hears that, because I wish I got that comment in before he hung up. But let's go to Marie, Jerry, and Marie is in Wyoming on the EWTN app. Hello, Marie.
Hi. Mine started 7 years ago. I have a daughter that lives in a very liberal city. Went to the other side, the other team. And, for a couple of years, it was still, well, I don't agree with you, but I love you, and I'll never be disrespectful to anybody you bring around. And I think she knows the truth and couldn't handle my kindness, and just abruptly stopped talking to me and never won't respond to anything. And then my first husband passed away, and she didn't do anything wrong, but I think there was guilt there, whatever. And it just, I don't know. Anyway, she goes to a counselor, so I don't know if her counselor told her, it if she doesn't support you 100%, she's toxic, get her out of your life, they hear what they want to hear. They listen to what they want to, and they go with that. And then my new husband, he has a child that they got in a fight and a disagreement, and that was it. So that child we don't get to see, or her children. And then 3 years ago, it's been almost 3 years, things started getting really strained with my other child and spouse. And I was really close with one grandchild. I got to spend all the time I wanted with that child. And then when their next child came, it just got really strained. And I don't know if it was from postpartum or what the deal was. But anyway, it just got progressively worse. There was nothing I could do. Everything I did was wrong and was offensive. You used the word offended. They're offended. Yes. I mean, it was just little things, little disagreements, whatever. I chewed my tongue off, keeping my mouth quiet, but it didn't matter. The relationship went exactly where my child's spouse wanted it to go. I had to walk away because I was on this roller coaster of emotions, and you'll hear that come out right now. And as heartbreaking as it is that I don't get to see these grandchildren, I feel like they're in a safer space because I'm not creating turmoil and maybe having some, lashing out on them because of hatred for me. So I just pray. I mean, I know it's nothing. I've prayed, God, let me know if any of this is something I've done, whatever. But I've learned that it's not what I've done. It's just the world today, and it's Satan's attack on the family. And all we can do is pray and offer it up.
Mm-hmm. Marie, you've said so many, critical things. And I'll just touch upon a couple there. First of all, what you just said, Satan is very active in the world today. We know we don't have to look far to see how he is attacking marriage, family, sibling relationships, all sorts of other relationships. Satan is the divider. He is the father of lies. And so that's one force that is working, I think he's out in the open more now than maybe he ever was. And he's got a lot of accomplices, a lot of willing accomplices. And that is that we talked about, maybe sometimes, not all, but sometimes therapists, direct their clients to, cut off all relationships. Maybe that's necessary in certain circumstances. Who knows? But there's just, it becomes a them against you sort of a situation, and their peers. I think you mentioned with one of your daughters, there was a time when you maybe disagreed, but you still loved each other and you still had somewhat of a relationship. But then I think you said some of her friends kind of got to her. They can put ideas in their heads. They can kind of become critical of them, like, what are you doing, still relating to your mom, don't you see what we see, and all of a sudden, the pressure from outside, the pressure from without can become so very great that I think that becomes a factor as well. But Debbie, I don't know if I'm making any sense. I know you can
Absolutely.
make a whole lot more sense on this than I can. But
no, absolutely, you nailed it. And Marie, I feel your pain. I hear your pain. It is the most excruciating thing as a parent to go through. I know, because I went through it for many, many years. And even though things can get reconciled later on in life, and we're so grateful to God that things are reconciled or maybe come back around as people get older and realize that they're not going to live forever, it's still, it wounds you so deeply that, you're not really the same person anymore. And but that's okay, as long as we're better people, closer to God, and we're stronger with God. Then maybe in some strange sort of way it was all worth it. And you made the comment about offering it up. I can't stress it enough, Marie. I cannot. The more we offer this up, the more we ask for the eternal blessings, the healing, the peace and the depth of that we can understand God better through this pain, because God is aligned. Jesus is so close to us in this grieving time, in this grief period. Marie, it's it's a spiritual game changer. I have to tell you, I would almost be willing to go through it again, knowing what I know now of how deep I have gotten with God. It was the most painful thing I've ever walked through for almost 16 years. So there you go. I've lived it, and I'm still standing. And Marie, so I feel your pain. We've got to just get deep with God, because we got to keep our eye on the prize. What do you say, Marie?
I agree. I feel like that's what I'm called to do now, is to just pray. We have 10 grandkids between the two of us, and we only get to see 3.
Mm.
And so it's just, okay, I guess I'm the praying grandmother is what I have to put it at. And just, I don't know. But I do.
Well, pray hard, Marie. Pray hard, because sometimes, prayer is always the best thing we can do, but sometimes it's the only thing we can do. Try everything that you can humanly, but really ask God to fill in all of the gaps there for you. Thank you, Marie. God bless.
The most original Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
On Mother Angelica Answering the Call, Father Joseph and Doug Keck mine decades of phone calls answered by Mother Angelica. Mother dishes out teaching, advice, laughter, and plenty of prayers as she takes calls from her family.
Mother Angelica Answering the Call, Sunday afternoon, 2 Eastern, on EWTN Radio.
God might not always like to bless us with health, wealth, and prosperity, but one thing He seems to enjoy lavishing on us is opportunities for trust. He's always been that way with the people He loves. He brings us into impossible situations so He can show us that He is the Savior. He did that with Moses. I know an army's behind you, Moses. I know there's a sea in front of you. Just keep running toward it. I'm going to do something really cool. Are you in an impossible situation right now? Is your marriage overwhelming? Finances on rocky ground? Boss being a jerk? Friends failing you? When you're at the end of your rope, you're at the beginning of God's rope. Handle your problems with prayer. We have a God who acts when we ask. And when we turn to Him with trust, we'll find that the greatest blessing He gives us in our trials is a soul that walks through life with a peace that surpasses understanding. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie is on YouTube. Search YouTube to find the EWTN YouTube channel, so you'll never miss an episode of our show or any of your favorite EWTN radio shows.
Hi, this is Janet Williams. We embrace the essence of feminine spirituality on Women of Grace tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern here on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you every day on this program. I don't know about you, Debbie. I get asked by people all the time, what was your topic today? And, what did you guys talk about? And I say, we didn't talk about anything the listeners did. Because it really is a unique listener-driven program. We like to think up topics that pertain to everyday life issues and invite you, the Take Two family, in. And you are the ones who teach, you inspire, you edify. And we learn from you every day, and you learn from each other. So thank you for that. Thank you. And today we're talking about parental alienation today. Your kids don't want to see you. They won't let you see the grandkids. Maybe it's for whatever reason it could be. Maybe you're experiencing the pain of that right now, and you just want to kind of reflect a little bit on that on the air. 833-288-3986.
So this just came in from one of our Take Two family members, and a very holy woman of God. She made the comment, because of the lack of social interaction or the substitution of electronic interaction has created a generation of those unable to solve disagreements. One argument and they walk away because they don't know how to debate or argue and solve issues. So true.
Well, and a part of that is they don't know how to deal with emotional issues.
Yeah.
Because when you're playing a video game or staring into a screen, there's no emotional exchange going on there.
That's true.
So when you have those inevitable moments, they are going to come up in life because that's how we're made by God is we have emotions. There's going to be pain, sadness, joy, disappointment, sorrow, all of these things. And there could be a deficiency in an ability to handle those things or a complete inability to handle those things. And then what do? You just turn to the only thing you know how, and that's just kind of hit the off button, and that's unfortunate.
Yep. Absolutely. This is a heavy topic, and we are getting a lot of responses, but I think it's a necessary one, and we always focus it around April 25th, which is the National Parental Alienation Awareness Day. So let's go back to the phones, Jerry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Erica in Greenville, Tennessee, listening on Sirius XM 130. Erica, welcome to the program today.
Hi.
Hi, Erica. Welcome. What would you like to share?
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm sorry. I have a 35-year-old daughter who is very much estranged from me because she has a brother, my son, who had a little girl. And when she turned 14, she decided she wanted to be a boy. And her dad and her mother felt that was a great idea. And so they call my granddaughter he and refer to her as him, etc. And I won't do that. I call her, and I've talked to her about it, and she doesn't feel unloved or she's not upset at all. She kind of, I guess she accepts the fact that I'm a grandma and I'm not going to change her gender like her parents are. But my issue is not with my son, who is the dad, but it's my daughter, who is the aunt. She is so angry with me over this subject, and she calls, she feels that I'm judgmental and just too strict or unbending or uncaring, and I don't know what. And it's destroying my relationship with my youngest daughter. Mm-hmm. And I really don't know how to handle it.
Well, okay. So I have a few thoughts on this just because I was in religious education for many years, Erica, and I just I feel strongly about this. So take it from me. I'm not representing the church right now or representing EWTN. This is just my experience in religious education. You have every right to be the kind of Catholic Christian you want to be. No one can tell you to compromise, not even our children. No one can tell you what to do when it comes to your faith life. And maybe there's some way you can convey that to your daughter, that this is not about being judgmental. This is not about trying to be rigid or old-fashioned or any of the above. It's about you have to live out what's true in your belief in your Christian life and what God teaches and God's commandments, and you have to live it out. Otherwise, here's, I hate to be so blunt about this, but let's face it, when we die, it's us in front of Jesus. Our daughters and our sons and our grandkids are not going to be beside us. It's the person with their particular judgment in front of Jesus. And maybe you could convey that to your daughter, that this is not about trying to hurt your granddaughter with their gender, confusion there that's happening. This is about you having to live your best Christian life, just like they have to live their own spiritual life. If there's any way to kind of find that mutual kind of understanding and respect on that, I think we're gonna have a better situation in families, because this is happening all the time. This is popping up in families all the time, Erica. We're hearing it on the coaching end, and it's usually that's what's just tearing apart the family. That somebody has either decided to be in a same-sex relationship, or they decided to question their identity, or they decided to live a lifestyle that's so far different from Christianity, and that's what, and then all of a sudden the Christian or the ones that are upholding the faith have to somehow come down, have to lower the bar, have to compromise in order to keep peace. That doesn't have to be that way. What do you say, real quickly, because I know Jerry will have something much more profound to say.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I definitely feel that way. And at one point, I felt as though the only way to keep a relationship with my daughter was to call my granddaughter a boy. And I'm not going to do that. And, there has to be a middle ground. And evidently, I'm the rigid one, but like you said, I'm the one that has to move the bar down instead of everyone else being a little more understanding. See, the issue that I have is, in this scenario, I'm the only Christian. I'm the only Christian. My kids are not Christian, none of them. And they were brought up in the church, but they're not there anymore. And so they don't have any respect for my faith.
Yeah. Well, again, it's what I was saying with a previous caller, Erica. There's a lot of voices and influences out there in today's big, bad world, if we can put it that way. And there's a famous quote. It's been attributed to G.K. Chesterton. I'm not certain about that. Some say it was somebody else. But the only real sin is to call green grass gray. And the meaning of that is you're looking right at a patch of green grass and you're saying, no, that grass is gray. In other words, you're looking right at a young 14-year-old female, and you're saying, no, that is a male. No, that is a female. So I think right now you have to take on a tsunami of prayer for your daughter and the mother of this girl, and your daughter, who's also very upset about you because you won't play along with this lie, is really what it is. And I'm not being mean to them, saying, well, they're liars. I'm just saying the whole objectively, it is an untruth, is what it is. And you can't do violence to yourself by going along with that, but you can be the prayer warrior that maybe helps to bring a little bit of God's grace. Just if a little crack can get open there and a little bit of God's grace can start to get in, who knows what can happen over time. Just that steady drip, drip, drip of God's grace can have a powerful effect. Maybe that's your role right now, Erica.
I hear you. It just kills me to... Well, and the weird thing is that my granddaughter has no ill will, or she loves me, and I love her. And I'm the only one that calls her a girl, but, you don't use pronouns when you talk to a person directly. So anyway, but I've had that on.
Yeah, Erica, I don't want to get too much into the details if you don't, and I understand, but you're not giving any names, so that's good. But she hasn't started any permanent transitions towards this, has she, or is this just something in her mind right now?
Yeah, she's only 16. She can't do anything. Right.
Okay, then we need to really pray. We need to storm heaven that she gets clarity and she comes back to a place where she can be feel good in her skin, in her being, and get the help she needs to feel at peace. So we need to pray. I put your granddaughter in the prayer book, Erica, because unfortunately some families that we work with that they've already started the hormones and all sorts of things and even scheduled surgeries and stuff like that. And that when you get that far, it's very, very hard to turn back and it's very problematic. But, when they're young like this, we have to storm heaven as much as we can. Maybe add some fasting, Erica, for your, and it doesn't have to be fasting from food, but add some fasting for your granddaughter so that we can have her gain clarity. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, God bless you. A lot of prayers. Miriam in Horseheads, New York is next, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Miriam. Thanks for your patience. Welcome. Hi, Miriam. You waited a long time, Miriam. Are you there?
Miriam.
Yes.
Oh, there you
hi.
are.
You're on the air. Go ahead, Miriam. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi. I was just calling just to put in my 2 cents, and I was just trying to present another angle.
Okay.
Because sometimes the parents are the ones who are actually abandoning the kids instead.
Sure.
So sometimes that brings wounds, and then Then when the kids grow up, and then now they want to come back into the kids' life or the kids' life, and it's a little bit too late. That's why a lot of parents need to be careful about what you do as a parent. You're gonna just up and leave, and then start a new life somewhere else, and then now want to now build a relationship, and then force this child to now want you back in your life or the grandkids in your life.
Right. Right. Oh, believe me, we deal with that as well, Miriam, and I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it goes both ways. You know, these are interactions with people, and whether it's from the parent to the child, or the child to the parent, or the grandparent. How people behave, there's consequences to that, and you're spot on. If they're going to walk away from their role and responsibility as a parent, and then how they could expect those kids to come around, 10, 20 years later and just be, oh, hi mom, hi dad, everything's all fine. That's not going to happen. And see, it's really a difficult situation. That's why these relationships truly need to be worked at on a daily basis, all the way around. But unfortunately, Miriam, we're in a world that there's not a lot of support for intact families to stay together. The real attractiveness of this world is, if you don't like it, run from it. If you don't like it, throw it out. If you don't like it, get a new shiny one. That's what this world's all about. And so we're fighting against the loudness and the noise of the world. So we need to get back. That's why I love the Catholic Church, and I love EWTN and Catholic media, because that's what we're trying to do, is support families. So I agree with you, Miriam. What do you say, Jer?
I can't add a thing to that. It definitely does, though, go both ways, Miriam, as you're pointing out. Most of the conversation today so far has been kids who cut off parents, but it definitely can, just because of human nature. It can go any particular direction in this family situation. So you're right, Miriam. Thank you very much for pointing that out to us. We appreciate that here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Good to have you part of the program.
Mm-hmm. Before we get back to the phones, we need to share this important announcement with our Take Two family. Join us for EWTN News in Depth, and that's tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And it is Monsi Alvarado and guests talk about the 7 sacraments and the graces that come from each of them, plus how some parishes are helping couples strengthen their marriages. Perfect timing. So Monsi Alvarado does a great job, but that's tomorrow night. Is that tomorrow night or tonight? Tomorrow night, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I thought it was Thursday, but I guess it's Friday. Somebody check on that. I got my days all mixed up. I'm leaving for D.C. tomorrow, so my days are all messed up.
Yeah, it is tomorrow.
It is tomorrow night. Okay, thank you. Tomorrow night. Thank you. I just want to make sure. I don't know which day is because I have to get on a plane at 4 in the morning tomorrow. I'm excited, though. I'm going to D.C. for the Fishers of Men dinner for Guadalupe Radio Network.
Great.
And Archbishop Laurie, and we're honoring the Little Sisters of the Poor, Jerry.
Oh, beautiful.
I finally get to squeeze them.
Good.
So anyway, but go ahead.
All right. We're going to go back to your calls. Lee is in Northeast Ohio, listening on the Station of the Cross. Lee, welcome to Take Two.
Hello?
Yes, welcome. Thanks for waiting.
You're welcome. And so my story would be identical to a couple callers ago, Marie, and then, what you guys said in response, identical. So I won't go into the details of it, but the estrangement from my one adult child happened right after my husband's extended illness and death. And so it was particularly hurtful because that's when I really needed the support of my children. And then also it was in stark contrast to the other child, who was the rock for the entire, and continues to be, for the entire illness, treatment, death, dismantling of our home, the whole thing. So, I feel for anyone who's going through any kind of estrangement. The full estrangement with the silence was about 3 or 4 months. So I know that sounds small compared to your, what did you say, 16 years?
16 years, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I know that sounds small compared to that, but it's no less hurtful because, we know time is all relative in the grand scheme of things. But I just want to, we keep saying that we just have to offer it up and to pray. And I just want to offer some hope to anybody out there that, my world became very small at that point. I had to retire to take care of my husband. And so, I wasn't working. I was in a big transition. And I suddenly had all this time on my hands while I was doing all this physical work to make some changes. And so I doubled down. It was, I became a daily mass goer. Continue to spend my time in all kinds of prayer and spiritual reading and whatever I can, just not fill the void, but to participate in the battle, because we have to do something. We can't. And when everybody just says, "Well, I guess we just have to pray," it's not just pray. That's what it's about. It's essential. So I just wanted to tell you some of the things I did. I have been very, very just diligent with Father Mike Schmitz and the Ascension Bible in a year, the Catechism in a year. I've completed both. Bible in a year, I'm on my 4th year. Praying the Chaplet of St. Monica a lot, the Chaplet of Divine Mercy, and the Rosary, of course, daily. I developed a devotion to our Mother of Sorrows. And one of the biggest things, and I know this is not for everyone, but somehow I made it through. I read The Mystical City of God, the 4-volume set from Sister Mary of Agreda. Just chock full of so many things to help. And then Mass intentions and just my changes, like you said before, fasting, and my return to confession after a long time. I've considered myself a pretty devout Catholic, but I was not receiving the sacrament of reconciliation, and I returned to the sacrament. And I just want to say that, our kids, the young people, are being duped by the culture. They're victims of the enemy, and they're not our enemy. We know who the enemy is,
right?
And they're just being used as a pawn. And so I was hearing that my faith is a trigger, and all that kind of stuff, and it was truly awful. But those are the things I did and now we talk, well, mostly text, but the communication lines are open, and the pain is lessened. It's not gone, because it's not our relationship is not what it used to be.
Right.
But
everything you're saying, I'm nodding my head up and down, and Jerry actually typed over. It sounds similar to what you did, precisely. I couldn't agree more, and that's what I said earlier about I would almost go through this again because of what I gained from the spiritual depth of all this, and it was transformative. It was very painful, but it was very enlightening, and it was very I felt the eternal. I could feel a sense of eternity ahead of time. I don't know, Lee, if you felt that way. This idea that you felt like heaven was super close to you at times when you were diving deep, and it was, to me, it was the oddest feeling, and I actually enjoyed it so much. There was a time even when I almost wished things wouldn't get reconciled too quickly, because I was loving this being surrounded by all. I felt the angels, saints. I felt it. So could you affirm that?
Yes, and I've been used to offer encouragement to other people who are dealing with estrangement or illness, or whatever the journey is. It's all about that suffering. And I don't know if you know about the Mystical City of God.
I do.
Oh my God. I mean, I get so emotional just thinking about it, and I need to reread it. And I did the whole thing. Maybe I'll go back and do the abridged.
Wow.
But here's my inspiration for reading that, was because my husband, he was anointed several times, but he got the apostolic absolution, and he had the world's longest transformation, because he kept thinking, oh yeah, eventually I'll do RCIA, and it never happened. But through a kind and wonderful priest, he was received into the church during his illness.
Wow.
And he died at peace.
And I think part of the problem, well, not the problem, but part of it fueled this adult child's anger and, being triggered by faith and whatever, because that child had always kind of shared a little bit of the cynicism with Dad of, and having that distance. And when he surrendered fully to God, I think, and I know it's going to be part of the journey for this child as well. And I have every bit of faith that God's gonna get that kid, gonna get it.
Sure.
But
Wow.
it's just, this is all part of the journey, and it's just been so intense. And like I said, it was much shorter than what you've experienced. But part of the just very personal prayer is, I pray that this child will be protected from, that somehow will forget what I was put through, because if this child ever realizes fully what was done, it will be devastating.
Yeah, I've
And
thought
so-
that. I've thought that too, and I prayed that too, because the weight of that could be very, very just so heavy for that child. I agree with you, Lee. But the beauty of where you're at is you can now tell this story and share with others and you just did on this worldwide platform. So I thank you so very much, because everything you said, you're spot on. I agree with, and that's how we got to take it on. And thank God we have our faith to lean on, Jerry.
Yeah. Thank you, Lee, for the call. Sounds like you put on the armor of God, just like Debbie did when she went through it. Thank you, Lee, so much. Nancy in Cleveland, we have literally about 2 minutes, but wanted to get you on the program listening on the iCatholic Radio app. Hi, Nancy. Welcome.
Hi. I really appreciate everything. Lee, I'm right with you, and I appreciate your encouragement to Debbie and Jerry to pray, and not just to pray, to really give it over to God. So I have 3 situations. One was the preborn trauma that my one son went through, and he's the one that has trouble with bonding with the family. He's always had, he was very difficult by the age of 2, been to a psychologist. They never even thought to address that some of the issues, his hyperactivity and tendency, it almost looked like seizures,
We have
could be
about
something
1 minute,
that
Nancy.
happened.
Yeah, got about 1 minute, Nancy. Go ahead.
That's something to remember, that sometimes our preborn children are already traumatized at birth, and we're still struggling to figure how to help him, and he's not willing to address it. So in prayer, we are addressing it. We are addressing it.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, though, Nancy. You bring that up, and we put you in the book as well. And Anne, we put you in the book, and everyone else that was waiting, we put you in the book. We'll be praying, especially today on National Parental Alienation Awareness Day, but throughout the rest of the year. But one thing that's important, Jerry, what Nancy is saying is so true. When you go to therapists or go for help or go to a program, give all the details, all the history, go all the way be as detailed as you possibly can be with every situation, because it's not like each one is like a cookie cutter type thing. It's very different for each child and each family relationship.
Yeah, it could be something very just maybe subconscious, or something that is not even brought up because you think it's not going to be important or not going to matter. So.
Yep.
All right, Nancy, sorry about the short time there, but we wanted to fit you in there, and like Debbie said, Ann and the others, we're just not going to have time on today's program. We have tomorrow a pre-recorded broadcast. It is a replay, an encore of our interview with Archbishop Joseph Naumann. You are going to love that conversation. We love doing it, and we love bringing it to you.
Yes, and thank you to the show team. Matt and Charles and Ace did a great job. Thanks to all the Take Two family. St. Mark the Evangelist as the saint of the day, and have a beautiful and blessed weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Are you facing a crisis in life? Are you feeling stuck and